Hi there. This is Mark Idelman, speech-language pathologist, and welcome to Facebook Live. And welcome to the teaching of talking, where we're going to have a conversation about aphasia, dysarthria, apraxia, and we're going to teach you a great deal of information tonight. The information I'm going to share with you is something that I've thought about for quite a while. And what I've thought about is, what is it that I really want to share with the people who are going to be on Facebook Live? And so I've been thinking about that all week, ever since last week. And what I came up with was a number of conclusions that I've made from doing 46 years of speech therapy with people with aphasia. Yeah, that's 46 years of doing speech therapy with aphasia. So I thought I would share what I've learned with you. You know, I look back over a number of people who made wonderful improvements with their speech. Hi there, Connie. Hey, Ed. And, gosh, there are a whole lot of really interesting people who are on the call. And let's see, who else is on the call? Well, there's a bunch of you. So, just kind of say hi, if you would. And that way I'll be able to tell. Stephen Kaplan is even on the call. And Judy is on the call. And Nancy Higginbotham is on the call. Great. And who else? We have Tammy Strait. Hey, Tammy. And Connie Lee. Hello from Taiwan. Oh, my goodness. And Summit. Hello, me too. And yeah. So our call tonight is going to be, what do you have to do? What do you have to do to really succeed and get results? And there's Isabel Frischman. Hey, Isabel. And Heidi is here. So that's the question for tonight. What does one have to do to improve speaking? You know, there are lots of people out there getting therapy, and there are lots of people out there who are some are getting mediocre results, some are getting good results, some are getting pretty good results, and some are getting excellent results. Hi, Susan Smith and Diana. So what I'm going to address with you tonight is, what do you have to do really to get good results with speech therapy, good results with recovery if you have aphasia, good results if you happen to be a care partner or a caregiver, what you can do to help assure that the person you love or the person you're working with is going to improve. I mean, that's what you all want. That's what everybody wants. What we want is results. Okay? So that's what we're going to talk about. Now, have you ever gotten a product, and there's Renee and Susan Smith. Have you ever you bought a product and you took it home and you took it out of the box and it said, for best results, do this. Well, that's what this meeting is about. I'm Mark Idelman, a speech-language pathologist who's been working with stroke patients for 46 years. And I've been helping them talk. And what I'm here to do tonight is to share with you, Lynn and Becca, those things that people with aphasia want to know and their caregivers want to know. Okay, so let's get to it. What's the first thing that you need to know? Well, the first thing you need to know is you got to have a coach. You have to have a coach. You have to have somebody who will work with you. You got to have a coach. Without a coach, you're stuck. Now, you know, some people use iPads and things like that, and if you don't have a coach, that's, I guess, the best next thing. But you need to have a coach, somebody who's going to speak the words to you and model the words for you, and model the words for you in a very simple and easy way. And that's so very, very critical. Somebody who's going to spend some time with you, someone who's going to talk with you, because this is about talking. If you want to improve talking, we have to talk. Talking is a process that involves two people or more. All right? So you have to talk with someone. So if you're going to be practiced, or if you are going to practice, you need to practice talking. And talking requires another person. Now, with many people who are halting in speech, they try to say words, and quite often they're not able to say the words because they go for the word and it disappears. And so someone has to help you identify the words that you're having trouble with and say the words clearly for you. If you think about a mom, and many of you on the call, how many of you on the call are moms? Raise your hand. Okay, so a mom, when she has a baby, first she makes a lot of sounds with the baby, and after a while, the baby starts to make those same sounds. Or the baby makes sounds, and the mom imitates the baby. And that's great, and the kid loves it. And so then the mom starts modeling words. But not big words, not sentences, not multisyllable words. The mom starts saying little words like cookie or night-night, hey Dorothy, or pee-pee, or boo-boo, or kitty, or doggy, okay? So these words are said to the baby over and over and over again every day, usually repeatedly, and usually at certain specific times. So the whole process of speech development and learning speech requires a speech model that says words in a simple way that are easy for the person with aphasia or the person who's learning it to repeat. And that's what the process is like. Hey, Summit. Hey, Dorothy. And so the speech model is critical. You take the speech model out of learning to speak. If you took a mother out of speech and language development would be significantly retarded, would be delayed, because the person isn't hearing rich language. So the first thing that if you're a person with aphasia, or if you're a caregiver, or you're a therapist, the first part of the recipe, okay, is the coach, or is the spouse, or is the caregiver, or the therapist, or the husband. They're worth $1 million. Okay, so that's the first thing, is a coach. Now, so the coach repeats words, repeats phrases, repeats these things over and over again, and something magic happens through osmosis that the individual, the child, or even the person with aphasia starts saying words because they're hearing the words. You have to hear the words. Now, a lot of times people with aphasia, if they have trouble saying it, a caregiver or family member will say, "Oh, you know that. Come on, you can say it. I'm not going to help you. Come on, you can say it." But that's the worst thing in the world for a person with aphasia, because a person with aphasia needs to hear the word, needs to hear it repeatedly. And remember that repetition, and write this down, repetition is the mother of all skill. Repetition is the mother of all skill. So, if you're going to develop skill at talking, you've got to have repetition. You've got to repeat words. Where are you going to get the words to repeat? Well, you need it from a speech model. You need it from a wife or a husband. Hey, Deborah. Hey, Rodney. Where are you going to hear those words so that you can repeat them? You've got to hear them to repeat them. And you've got to hear them a lot to repeat them. And there's your hear. Okay, so a person with aphasia has to hear language, has to hear speech, has to hear it. And then they have to repeat it. So a speech model or a coach can learn how to model words, how to say words in an easy way so that the person with aphasia can repeat them. Now, what you're going to learn if you take the Teaching of Talking course, independent study course, you're going to learn that sometimes a person with aphasia can't repeat a big word or can't repeat a phrase. So what you're going to learn is you're going to learn what words or what sounds that you're going to start with to have the person with aphasia repeat. For many, you can't start at a sentence level. You can't start at a phrase level. Most of them can't do that. Sometimes even a single word level they can't do. So if they can't do that, then you have to break it down to the vowel level. And there's Fran and Chris. Good to see you. So the speech model or the coach learns about speech. Now, you got to learn about speech if you're going to help the person with aphasia. Because you know what? In Germany, they only offer 3 weeks of speech therapy. That's it. And then it's done. Kaput. And it's like that many other places all over the world. There's just very, very, very short-term therapy. Quite often the caregiver or the loved one may not even be included in the process. So that's why I wrote the Teaching of Talking, because to me, if a person is going to succeed with speaking, they must have a coach. They must have a speech model. They must have somebody at home to help them speak. They must have somebody at home who's going to require speaking, who's going to model speaking, who's going to get them to repeat words or phrases or sentences. Okay, now, so that's important. So what do we have? We have the coach, we have repetition of what is heard, and then you got to have a method. You have to have a method. You have to have a strategy. It's sort of like making a cake. You know, you can't expect to make a pineapple upside down cake if you don't have a recipe. And, you know, a lot of caregivers, a lot of family members think that they know what to do to help a person with aphasia, and quite often they don't. And quite often the person with aphasia is frustrated, is angry, doesn't want to participate. Why? Because the person who's trying to get them talking doesn't know what to do. And helping a person talk, especially if they have aphasia, requires skill. It requires skill. It's not guessing. It requires skill. And that's why I wrote the Teaching of Talking. I wrote the book, then I wrote a audio book, And then I developed a video course that right now we're having a special on until the end of November. You know, if you want to learn how to do something, you got to have a recipe. You have to have a method, okay? And the way I've developed the method for people, I wrote the book and developed this method for the caregiver. For the person who's at home with the individual with the speaking difficulty. Now, let's talk, yes, Natasha, let's talk about the next item, okay? Because these things are so critically important to you. Let's talk about language immersion. Language immersion. Hey, Elena. And language immersion is where you're in an environment where the language of that environment is said and stimulated exclusively. So that means if you're going to be immersed in language, that means the person who's got a problem or they want to learn a language or they want to learn how to speak again, they must be in an environment where they are required to use the language. And that's called immersion. And immersion has been proven to be one of the best ways of learning a language. People would go to France or they'd go to Italy if they wanted to learn Italian, or they'd go to Russia if they wanted to learn Russian, or they'd go somewhere, they'd go live with a family that spoke a specific language. And guess what? They couldn't speak any other language but the language in the environment. Now, that's another reason why I wrote the book, because the environment where the person with aphasia lives must encourage speaking, must require speaking. You know, what typically happens after a while is that the caregiver or the loved one at home learns what the gesture is, you know, and then gives them whatever they want, okay? But immersion, and we're striking home with some people, yeah, you know, it's a lot easier just to give them whatever the heck they want if they can make their needs known by a sign or a gesture or whatever it is. Hey, Rachel. And, but immersion is what I want all of you to develop in your own environments. If you have a person, or if you are a person with aphasia, or you love a person with aphasia, you've got to create an environment where you are, and that person is required to speak. Now, you might ask, well, how do I get them to speak? Well, the answer to that is you get them to speak by learning what they can say and what they can't. And the first part of the book and the first part of the video course is learning just that. How to get the person to imitate, to say what you want them to say. And then you learn exactly what you have to do. Because I've worked with people, and I work with people where we converse, but it's only in one word, one word at a time. And we can have a conversation about lots of things with one word. But you know what happens? After one word, they get kind of tired of one word. So and then we add two words. So now we get them to speak in two words. And they can usually do that because they've learned how to have a conversation at the one word level. So we go to 2 words, and we stay there for a while. We don't do anything else but stimulate speech with 1 or 2 words, or the number of words that that person can tolerate well. And that's immersion in the environment of home. What better place is there than stimulating speech and language at home? That's where you do everything. That's where your whole life is. It's not in a little cubicle room of therapy, although you've got to have speech therapy, and hopefully the speech therapist is teaching the caregiver what to do at home. Because the home is so language rich. I mean, there's so much to talk about at home. So much you can say, so much you can share at home when you have a person at home who knows a method. So remember, you got to have a coach. You have to have a person at home who's going to help the person with aphasia talk. You got to have that. Hey, Wendy, you got to have that. Because without that, what do you have? You don't have anything. Because talking, and please get this and write it down and put it in your brain, talking requires at least 2 people. So if you want to get better at talking, you have to talk with someone. And I can't tell you how many times that I've talked with people with aphasia, and I've asked them how much they talk every day, and many of them say very little. And if you're talking very little, then you're not going to be making the progress, because you've got to talk a lot, especially if you've had a stroke. So that's language immersion. They need the model. And here's the next thing I want to share with you. Hi, Gerald. Hey, Wendy. You know, there was a guy by the name of Malcolm Gladwell. And he was a pop psychologist a number of years ago. And he wrote a book. And he stated that to become an expert at just about anything, you've got to dedicate about 10,000 hours. Now get me now. You've got to dedicate about 10,000 hours to what it is that you want to excel in. And he said that the studies that he read and studied and participated in resulted in people getting very, very good at what they do. 10,000 hours. So just imagine if you baked cakes for 10,000 hours, or if you went to dancing school 10,000 hours, or did almost anything for 10,000 hours, you'd get pretty good at it after a while. So let's break that down a little bit, okay? Guess what 10,000 hours is? 10,000 hours is 416 days. Now get it. 10,000 hours is 416 days, and that's 24-hour days. But we sleep 8 hours, and maybe we have to eat our meals, and that might take an hour and a half. And so 8 hours a day, if you were going to devote 8 hours a day to becoming an expert or to becoming very competent, if you were going to devote 8 hours a day to doing something that you really wanted to excel in, guess how long 10,000 hours is? 10,000 hours is 1,250 days. Hey, Catherine. Hey, Natasha. All right. So what does 1,250 days equal? It equals 3.5 years. Now, that is if you were doing 8 hours of talking with a coach every day. Now, that doesn't mean, that means focused attention. That means focused communication, one-on-one, talking with someone, them using a method, 8 hours a day, let's say. Okay? So if it was 8 hours a day, that would come out to 3.42 years, or about 3.5 years. But it's unheard of. Nobody does speech therapy 8 hours a day. Well, I did back in a number of years ago when I was asked to teach a class that had 4 people with aphasia in it, and I told them that I'd have to move in with them. That's what it takes. Now, so let's say you say to me, well, Mark, how about 4 hours a day? How about if I were to be dedicated and focused, and I had somebody who was willing to work with me on my speech, and I had 4 hours a day, how long would it take me to get pretty good at talking? Well, 4 hours, at 4 hours a day, if 10,000 hours were the amount of time that would take most people to become an expert, guess how long that would be? 7 years. And we know a lot of people who've had aphasia for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, and they're talking pretty well. Well, why is that? Well, it's because they've been focused, stimulating language. Hey, Keithy. Hey, Dan. They've been focused on speaking and having someone help them with their speaking for years. So guess what? Speech therapy for aphasia is not something that you can go to an intensive course for a month or 3 months and expect to get much better, because you're not. Why? Because it takes normal people. Now look, it takes normal people without any brain dysfunction. It takes normal people 10,000 hours to become an expert, okay? And some people with aphasia, some of them might not learn as fast as a person who doesn't have aphasia. So you see, we're talking about literally years of speech and language stimulation if you want to get better, if you want to get good. It's not a quick fix. In fact, it's a low, tedious process. And that's why I wrote The Teaching of Talking. Because I know that the only real way that an individual with a severe speaking difficulty is going to get better is through weeks, months, and years of intensive speech and language stimulation. Now, I had a call just yesterday from a woman who said, my mother just had a stroke and I live about 60 miles away. What can I do to help my mother talk? Well, she can get her mother online, video online, and she can talk with her mother video online every day for a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, maybe an hour in the morning, maybe an hour in the afternoon, maybe an hour at night. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this because this is what it takes. Hey, do you remember last week when we were talking about Tiger Woods? That guy would get up in the morning, he'd run 4 miles, then he'd hit golf balls for 2 to 3 hours, then he'd go play golf, then he'd come back home, then he'd go shoot golf balls for another 2 or 3 hours, and then he'd go play tennis. Or Wayne Gretzky, the famous hockey player, what did he do? Gretzky said there's only one thing to do if you're going to be great. And that's practice, 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 and more practice. And that's what it takes. I mean, you should have some fun, and maybe you should take some salsa dancing or whatever it is you want to take once a week or so. But if you really want to get good, if you really want to help your person get better at speaking, you must dedicate a good portion of the waking hours to the improvement of speaking. Now, let's say you wanted to practice 2 hours a day. Hey, Sherry, let's say you wanted to practice 2 hours a day, and let's say you wanted to take that 10,000-hour formula. The 10,000-hour formula, which is that if you want to get good at anything, you've got to put in at least 10,000 hours if you really want to get good at something. So let's say a person says, yeah, Mark, well, I only have about 2 hours a day. Okay, well, let's see what 2 hours will get you. 2 hours a day at 10,000 hours, it means that you need 5,000 days of 2 hours of speech and language stimulation. 5,000 days. Now, what does that equate to? 14 years. 14 years. Do you see how serious I am about this? This is serious. This is no laughing matter. This is what it takes for an individual whose language processing area takes a major hit with a stroke, and then alternate portions of the brain sometimes have to take up the slack. Okay? So it takes an intensive amount of time. Thanks, Maury. Thanks, Sherry. So let's say, and I'm going to get off this in just a second, but let's say you say, well, Mark, I practice 1 hour a day. But you know something? Very few people practice with focus. Practice talking with focus. Now, you could practice doing worksheets. That's not really talking. You could practice with iPads and things like that. Well, I do my iPad for a couple hours a day. Yeah, but that's not talking. That's not interacting. That's not sharing. And that's what talking is. Talking is sharing and interacting and communicating with another person. This is what it requires. So, I said to that woman, well, you could go online with her, but that's not really all that beneficial either. You'd probably have to invite Mom to move in with you. And, that's the way we did it in this country years ago. If a mom or a dad or a grandmother or grandfather got sick, they didn't have nursing homes back then, not like today. What families did is they moved their parents in with them. So, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you do what you have to do. But I'm just giving you the information that you're going to really, really need. Now, the people that I've worked with, that I've shared with this group, you met Deb Johnson, and you met John and Joan, and you met some other people that I had on the call. Well, Deb Johnson's been working with her husband 4 years already. And John and Joan, they've been working together on his speech, hey, Tracy, 3 years. and they're married. So they have an immersion method, which means they're at home. And immersion is being in one place and being required to speak the language of that place. So you have to learn how to help a person talk, and the complexity of the words that you have to use. Okay? Now that requires special knowledge, and that's why I wrote The Teaching of Talking. I wrote it in the book, The Teaching of Talking, which you can get on Amazon, or if you send me an email, I'll send it to you. I think it's $15 and $5 shipping. And then there's the independent study course, where you watch myself with another person and I walk you through everything you need to do in order to learn this method. And that way, you'll never have to worry about therapists saying you've plateaued. You never have to worry about being discharged from therapy. You don't have to worry about any of those things because it's going to happen. And all around the world it's happening. And I get letters every day from people all over the world who've got loved ones who've had strokes and lost their speech, and they want to know what to do. Okay. So, just remember, the last point I want to make before I open up the floor and open up the video to everybody, there's one more point I want to make. You know, people think that speech therapy, is like, they think it's like, going to therapy. I get in my car, I go to the hospital, I go to the outpatient clinic, I get out of the car, I sit in the waiting room, I wait for the therapist to come. I don't know who the therapist is. I don't know how much experience they have. I don't know if they're a student or a CFY. I don't know anything like that. And you just don't have a whole lot of control over things. And that's what speech therapy is. You're there for a half an hour, 45, 50 minutes, and then you go home and they give you some worksheets to work on. And maybe the loved one or the wife or the husband comes in the last 5 minutes and the therapist says, here's these papers, work on them at home. That's not what you need to learn if you're going to help an individual talk. That's more cognitive therapy, and those exercises are okay, but they're not for talking. If you want to help a person talk, you've got to talk with them. You've got to interact with them. It's speaking and listening, speaking and listening. Speaking, listening. It's asking questions, getting an answer, asking another question, getting an answer. And we teach you how to ask a question so that you give them the words they need. You give them the words they need so they can say it. And every time you ask a question, you give them the words. They don't have to fight and try to get all frustrated trying to think what the answer is and get all frustrated and angry and all upset. We don't want that. We want you to give them the words that they need. And give them the words until after a while they don't need you to give the words. That's the principle of the teaching of talking. You give them the word or the two-word combination in an easy, indirect way, and then they're able to say it, and that's what your day is like. It's not being in a cubicle. It's not, quote, sitting down and having therapy. That's not what we want with the teaching of talking method. What we want with the teaching of talking method is to find out what a person wants, find out how a person is feeling, help give them the words that they need so that they can express that, and asking them questions all day long. Do you want some more ice cream? Say more ice cream. Do you want to go to bed early? Say bed early. Do you want to get up now? Say get up now. I mean, that's how it is. That's just how it goes all day long. And you can do 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours worth of speech and language stimulation every day at home, because it's not sitting down and bringing out the notebooks and bringing out the flashcards. That's not what it is. What it is actually talking back and forth. And that's how speech develops when you're using an immersion method, which has been shown to be one of the best methods for language learning, whether or not you have a stroke or not. So, you can stimulate speech and language without, quote, doing therapy. Today, I was working with this couple, and this guy's wife said to me, well, Mark, your therapy is so much different from all the other therapy my husband has had. It's so much different from physical therapy. It's so much different from occupational therapy. And I say, well, what's so different about it? And you know what she said? She said, it doesn't seem like therapy. It doesn't seem like therapy. Well, it doesn't seem like therapy. Why? Why doesn't it seem like therapy? Why? Because you're asking questions and you're helping them answer the question. Asking questions, helping them answer. In fact, the answer to the question that you ask is usually, we teach you how to put the answer to the question inside the question. Can you imagine that? You ask a question and the answer is inside the question. So when you ask the question and the answer is inside the question, guess what? It's very easy for the person to answer. And when you do that all day long, and you just do it conversationally, guess what? It's just the way it used to be between the husband and the wife. You ask a question, you get the answer. We teach you how to ask the question to get the answer and to embed the answer inside the question. And just know that it's going to take a long, long time to get better. But they will get better. They do get better. They will get better. They do get better if they can imitate and if they can comprehend, if they can understand what's being said to them. Okay, so just know that speech therapy, this really isn't speech therapy. It's speech and language stimulation. That's what I call it. It's stimulating people to talk. How do you stimulate somebody to talk? Well, it's very easy. You ask them a question. That's how you get people to talk. I saw my neighbor over here the other day, and I said, hey, you got a nice motorhome. And the guy came over to me, and he says, oh, yeah, I've been having trouble with it. All I did was I asked him a question, and guess what? He came over, and he started talking with me. And that's what talking is. It starts with a question, and it finishes with an answer. And when you can put the answer inside a question, then it makes it very simple for the person with aphasia to answer. And then after a while, guess what? You don't have to do it that way. You can just ask what we call an open-ended question. And with time and with repetition and focus, people get better. But the way that the system is in the U.S. and around the world, the way that the system is is that most caregivers don't learn what to do at home. Most people with aphasia only get therapy for a short period of time. So what happens? If you have a situation where therapy doesn't last very long and the caregiver is not trained in what to do, guess what? The person with aphasia does not get significantly better. And usually it's because of the system that there isn't a coach, there isn't opportunity for repetition, and there isn't a strategy, a method. And that's what I spent 3 years writing that book, The Teaching of Talking, breaking everything down that I knew and putting it in a book for people so that wherever they were, whether it was in Lakeland, Florida, whether it was in Seattle, Washington, whether it was in Tokyo, whether it was in Ghana, whether it was in Portugal, they would have access to the information. Okay, let's see, is there anything else that I've got to share with you? Okay, I got to share with you something else, okay? Because if this will motivate you to really do something big. Hey, Javier. Hey, Connie Hudson, oh my goodness. Okay. So here's something else about people who are successful who have aphasia. The other thing about people who are successful who have aphasia, guess what? They are experts at practicing. They're experts at practicing. They love to practice. They love to talk. They want their care partner to ask them the questions, to ask them the embedded questions when necessary, because they love to practice. And so many, I've had a lot of caregivers who have said to me, well, Mark, my husband hates to practice. He hates it. Well, the reason why he probably hates it is because it's probably boring. It's probably, you're probably not talking about the things he wants to talk about. You can do flashcards from now till forever, but you've got to be talking about something that the person wants to talk about. So the people who succeed are the people who love to practice. They love to practice. There's no procrastination. There's no we'll do it later. There's no I've got a headache. I don't want to do it now. There's no I'm tired because I had a rough day. No, that stuff just doesn't cut it. It just doesn't cut it. The people who are succeeding will practice and want to say words and phrases and sentences no matter how they feel. Okay? So, and it's deliberate practice. Okay. So, I'm going to open up the floor for a while. And I'm going to invite some of you onto the call. Hey, Ellen Jacobson and Donna. Hey, Donna. Great to see you. So I'm going to just open up the floor, and I'm going to take maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes with each person, see what their challenge is, see what you'd like to know, see if there's any question I can answer, anything like that. Hey, Rhonda. Okay, so here's a person who wants to be on the call. Let's see who this person is. Okay. So we have, we have a bunch of people who are on the call. And so I'm going to ask, let's see, how about Virginia? Let's see if she'll come. I don't know if she has her camera on or not. I've had an opportunity to speak with Virginia a couple of times, and so we'll see if she can be on the call with us. We want to try and keep this.
Yes, 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 yes. Thank you, thank you. Yes.
How are you, Virginia?
I haven't been. I haven't been. I haven't been.
You haven't been. Is that what you said?
Haven't been.
Yeah, I haven't seen you on the call every week. I've seen you sometimes,
Thank you.
but it's good to see you.
Too good to see you.
Yeah. So, are you doing okay?
Are you doing okay? Thank you so
Are
much.
you doing okay?
I can. I haven't got in time.
So, you're doing okay.
I'm doing okay.
Ah, that's how we do it. Good. Very good. And are you in Florida?
In Florida, say thank you.
Yes, you're in Florida, aren't you?
Yes.
Is it dark now?
Dark now. Yes.
Do you like it better when it's light or when it's dark?
Um, I don't know. It's I don't. It's right. I don't remember. I don't remember.
You like it better when it's light?
Lights. Yes. Yes.
Okay, so you like it better when
When
it
it's cold. No. It's when to go.
when it's light?
Light. Yes.
Yes. Okay, good. Well, Virginia, it's so great to see you.
Yes. Right. Thank you.
You know, it's always nice to thank you, and you're a really sport. Let's say about one or two more things before we go, okay?
Okay.
Are you having Thanksgiving this year?
Yes. Having Thanksgiving. Yes.
And are you having Thanksgiving at home?
No. It's home. No.
No. Are
No.
you having Thanksgiving somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Are you having Thanksgiving with family?
Yes. A family.
Ah, very good. Okay. Well, Virginia, it's been wonderful speaking with you.
Thank you.
And I hope we'll speak again real soon, okay?
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Okay. So that's a little bit about how I was using embedded questions to get answers so that there's no struggle, no frustration. And if you noticed, I was working around the 2 word level, which was very easy for her and very comfortable with her. Virginia and I could have talked for the next hour. We could have talked about all kinds of stuff, like what we were going to eat on Thanksgiving, what kind of pie she likes, um, whether she was going to have Thanksgiving with a son or a daughter or a brother or a sister or whatever. I mean, we could have talked for the next hour, and that would be the therapy, you see. And yet, it doesn't seem like therapy, does it? No, it's what we call an inquiry. Okay, it's what we call an inquiry. Okay, so let's see who else might like to be on the call. Let's see. And Cherie, I I can't get you on the call through Facebook Live. We'll have to talk some other time. We can't video chat through Facebook Live. So let's see who else we might have who we could speak with. Let's speak with Tammy. Let's see if Tammy would like to speak. So I'm going to add Tammy if she would like to join us. Hey, Rhonda and Michelle. Oh, Michelle Schultz is here. Oh, my goodness. I'd like to see if I could invite. Oh, we had somebody who declined. Let's see if Michelle is able to speak with us. Let's see if she. Let's see if she can do that. Let's see. Let's try Michelle. Michelle is a very good friend of mine. We've been working together for a while with her husband, and let's see if she'll join us. Let's see if she can join us. That would really be good. Michelle is a very, very interesting, energetic person who's been learning the teaching of talking, and she's pretty darn good at it. In fact, mostly everybody who commits to learning how to stimulate speech and language gets really, really good at it because it's not all that difficult. It's rather simple. It's rather easy. And don't let anybody tell you it's not. It's pretty easy. Does it take energy? Yes. Does it take focus? Yes. Does it take, yeah, it takes a lot of energy. Well, oh, she can't come on with us. So let's see if there's one more, let's see if there's one or two more person who'd like to be on the call. So if you'd like to be on the call, um, just join us. Just join us. Just do that. I'm going to see if Jill Arens would like to be on the call. So I'm going to invite Jill onto the call and see if she would like to introduce herself to all of us. And let's see if Jill can share with us anything. You know, we have therapists, we have people with aphasia, we have caregivers, and it says that Facebook Live is adding her right now. Let's hope that she comes on because it's a great experience for all of us to learn from others who are experiencing this. And Michelle said she could not get on, so we're kind of upset about that. And James Beggs is on the call. Hi, James, and you're watching, and we're gonna wave back to you. And so I've been waiting for Jill to come on, but I don't know. It says no answer from the live video guest. Okay. So let's see who else. Let's see who else. Um, if you'd like to be on the call, hit that little green button. And I'm going to ask Dorothy if she'd like to be on the call. And there's Caitlin. Hey, Caitlin. Nice to see you. It's nice to see a lot of people on the call. And I hope that you're enjoying the lesson tonight. And Michelle asked me to ask her again. So in a minute or two, we'll ask Michelle because Michelle is a care partner. And Michelle has been working with her husband for quite a while. And she's developed skills to stimulate speech and language. And she stimulates speech and language throughout the day. She doesn't sit down with her husband, but she stimulates him to talk. And remember that if you're going to stimulate to talk, you got to make it easy. And there's Rome. I hope I've pronounced your name right. And so I'm going to wait, and there's no answer from here. Let's try Michelle one more time. Let's try Michelle one more time. And I'm going to approve Michelle. Michelle is a real hoot. She's got a great personality. She's got lots of energy. She's got more dedication for her husband to help him speak, more dedication than many, many people.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, Michelle.
Mark.
Yeah.
So my guy's asleep now, so I can't bring him on so everybody can see him.
Okay. Well, what can you share with the audience about caregivers learning how to help their loved ones talk?
Well, I can tell you that it's not easy, but it depends on I think that you just have to not give up. Just like anything else in life, everything's hard. Anything that's worth accomplishing is not easy. So you just keep going, and pretty soon, a little bit at a time. I describe to people where I've been is Ron was at minus 400%. Now he's at minus 50%. I mean, he's almost, he's improved a lot, but people they all think, oh, he should be just talking, right? No, it's not. That's not how it works. You just slowly get more and more stimulation, because that's how the brain works. It begins to channel those neural pathways again. But it's in our case, Ron has great articulation of words. He can say words really well, and it's just that bridge to get over where you're initiating the language that it's really hard for him. And but he can imitate very well over, and it's not really that hard. I find that with brain injury, you have to be ready at the time when they're motivated to actually do it. And it's really hard for us to connect. That's why it's taking so long, because when he's ready, I'm not. And when I'm not ready, when I'm ready, he's not. And it's like we constantly go back and forth over this. And that is what is disturbing to me about the whole process, is that, life just doesn't give you the opportunity to both connect at the same time very often. So you have to be watching for that. Like, I know that, like, in the morning when he first gets up and has his cup of coffee is when he's ready to go. He'll do it. But then, later in the day, I'm busy working. We've got all these things going on. And so then I find the next opportunity is when we're both sitting down drinking a beer at night. we have interesting dialogue, with the cocktail hour. So you just gotta have to pick your stuff. And I don't know. I feel like people who have brain injury have to actually rest a lot. Their time is limited when they're at their peak. So, it's just working with people that have these kind of injuries. You kind of really have to know how severe the injury is, which they don't give you that much information. You can kind of tell, but people that are going through this have never experienced that before. So how would they know? It's just really hard. So you just kind of have to, the partner is the best one to do the work. So that's where I recommend Mark, because he never gives up. I just want you all to know that he does not give up. Even when the world is like crumbling, he's great. He's like a therapist. He's everything. So you're lucky to be on this. And you need to know that this is a really good person to work with. and he works from everywhere. So that's the best thing. You can always have this person at your disposal, where a person who has these brain injuries, you can't just be moving them. We went to a therapist for a year, and we would go constantly in the car. It was so awful. He'd fall when we go in. Now he can just sit in his home and have that, wonderful dialogue. It is really, it's worth a lot. It's amazing. So just know that, everybody out there, that, if you want any sort of, recommendation, we will never give up. We'll be working with Mark until he goes under or we go under. Probably. We're in the race for time, Mark. Anyway, so all of you who are listening, just know that this is a very special person, and you cannot do better. You're lucky to have him. That's my opinion. So there.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, well, we're getting closer. We'll get Ron on here one of these days.
Okay.
Because,
Is there one last thing you want to? If one last thing you want to tell anybody out there?
Just, you have to really love the person that you're working with. So that's why he always talks about the caregiver being usually the partner. So that's what's so important. You have to really have a great desire to make that person speak again, because that's just the most important thing. I just can't say any more about it. It's just everybody knows that, really. If anybody's been working on it for a while, once you get over your crisis, then you start to try and work at it. It's you're more involved than you realize every day with the speaking. It's Mark's way is the only way to get it going again. You can't be sitting there with all these notepads and all these things that they have you work with, and then you forget it the minute you walk out of the office. It's just crazy. So you got to do it every day a little bit, and that's what makes the difference. Even though my husband has severe aphasia, he's severe, so you have to kind of get you have to approach it, and Mark really helps. So my husband looks forward to talking to Mark so much. It's unbelievable. So he's not as happy with me, but he loves Mark. So that could be. Yeah, well, we laugh a lot. Mark and the three of us really have some good laughs. Anyway, it's all good. Just saying.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, Michelle, we love you. You know that.
I know. We love you too. Take care, Mark.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, special relationships. It takes a special relationship, what she said, between a caregiver and their loved one, or the therapist and the person with aphasia. It just takes a real special relationship. Okay, that was very nice, wasn't it, Cherie? Okay, I'm going to take one more call, and then we're going to head off. So let's see if and Tammy says that's so true. And everybody knows it's true. We know it's true. We know it's true. Cindy Harvey is watching. Let's see who else would like to be on the call. Let's see. Let's say hello to Raymond. Let's see if Raymond can come on the call. Raymond is a special person, a very special person, and hopefully he'll be able to share with us, and maybe he'll be able to shine some light on something very important about
Improving speaking.
Hey, Raymond.
Yes. How are you?
I am good.
How are you? I well too.
Good.
Good.
What have you been up to?
Not much.
Is there
Is there
something
you might like to tell
our
our
friends
friends here? No. No.
Would
Would you like to tell them?
Is
Is your speech getting better? Oh, yes. Well, yes, it is.
Good.
Good. Can you tell me that in a sentence? Yes, it is.
Good.
Good.
Is it
getting
better?
better? Yes, it. When I. Yes, it is.
Good.
Good.
Now I'm
Now I'm going to add two words to that, okay?
Is
it
getting
better? I think it is. Very good. Very good. Is there one thing you'd like to tell everybody? Is therapy helpful? Yes. I think it is.
Okay.
Very good. Will I see you tomorrow? Thursday. Good.
So
you will see me Thursday. Yes.
Can you tell
me that? I will see you Thursday. Very good.
Nice
seeing you, Raymond. Thank you.
See you Thursday.
See you Thursday. Bye.
Okay. So you see, you can have a conversation and do speech and language stimulation at the same time, and it doesn't seem like therapy. And yet a person speaks in a phrase or a sentence, but you have to know how to gauge your questions. And that you can learn, and that you can learn easily and readily with the teaching of talking. You can either get the book or the video course, and both of those are on the website at teachingoftalking.com. I'd really suggest the video so that you can watch a video and then go do exactly what I showed you to do in the video, and then you can get pretty good at it. Let me tell you a secret, okay? Michelle got the video, and she was doing the video for like 4, 5, 6 months. And then she wanted to work with me, so we started working with her after that. The same thing with, if you remember, John and Joan. they started out with the video course, and they saw the benefit and they saw the improvement. What Joan called me one day, and she said, "Mark, John's language is getting much better, but we've got a problem with the apraxia. Can you help me with the apraxia?" So then what we did is we started helping her with the apraxia, and we had to do that one-on-one because John's apraxia was severe. And in Michelle's case, Ron, he also had a severe apraxia in the beginning, but now he can articulate really, really well. So I think we're gonna need to call it at this point. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me to meet with all of you tonight. I would like to thank you. I'm going to ask you, please share this video. Please share this video on any Facebook page that you might be a member of. I can't do that, and I'd like you to, so that other people with aphasia can learn some of these basic fundamentals. There are millions and millions of people in the United States and all around the world who don't have quality information about aphasia. And they don't have quality information about how to help a loved one with aphasia. So I'm asking you as payment to me, or as a favor to me, is just to share, please share with any page that you happen to frequent, so that other people can also take advantage of the information. So just share, 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 share. And if any of you ever have any questions or anything personal you want to discuss with me, you know I can be reached at Talk with Mark, M-A-R-K, Talk with Mark 1. Talk with Mark 1 at gmail.com. And if you need to speak or communicate with me, I'm usually on Messenger, and I'm usually there. And the final thing I'm going to ask you is, when you go to the Teaching of Talking Facebook page, because I know some of you go there also, if you just kindly, there's a place on the Teaching of Talking page that that asks people to just make a comment about the Teaching of Talking, or a comment about me. And if you have anything good to say, if you have anything good to say, or if you've benefited from these classes that we've had, please go to the Teaching of Talking Facebook and just jot down a few of your comments or a few of your thoughts about what we've done. And remember that if you want to find out about the book, or if you want to find out about taking the course, the independent study course, you can go to teachingoftalking.com and get yourself a copy and get started, because time's a wasting. 10,000 hours, time's a wasting. So on that, I'd like to thank you all for being on the call. We'll be doing another call next week, next Tuesday, same time, 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Mountain, 7 o'clock Central, and 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And on that, I'd like to thank you again for giving me the pleasure and the opportunity and the privilege of helping you. So
Tomorrow, they heard you tomorrow in the internet.
yeah, and tomorrow also, Kim Justice is a radio show host, and there's a post on Teaching of Talking about Kim Justice, who does a head injury or a brain injury, and she's going to do an interview tomorrow night. So if any of you would like, please join us. Please join us, and remember, please, to share. And thank you all, and good night. Bye-bye now.